My name is Navneet. My name is Navneet Anand, and I'm happy to welcome you all to this special webinar on Bureaucrats India on January 16, 2025. We have with us a distinguished panelist, uh, uh, and before we welcome our distinguished guests to the session, I'm uh, happy to share that in keeping with our tradition of being at the forefront of critical discourse, Bureaucrats India is taking this initiative on triggering a dialogue on what it means to be Atmanirbharta when it comes to critical metal like aluminium. The topic for today's discussion, and therefore, is advancing aluminium for Atmanirbhar Bharat, the key imperatives. Uh, we have with us experts who certainly throw much insights, but as is evident as we march towards the India's vision of becoming a developed nation by 2047, that is Viksit Bharat by 2047, aluminium emerges as a strategic metal. Its applications in defense, aerospace, renewable energy, electric vehicles, and sustainable infrastructure make it indispensable to our journey towards self-reliance. And that is why the significance of this very webinar, because we feel that by contributing to critical policy discourse, critical dialogues in this space, we can certainly contribute as we have been doing for the last 4 years at the Bureaucrats India. We have an esteemed panel today to shed light on the opportunities and challenge in making India a global hub for aluminium production. We are very honored to have Dr. Jayadev Sarangi, an IAS officer, former IAS officer, formerly secretary to the Government of Delhi and Goa, besides, of course, having served uh, in many critical positions, and naturally has an insight on incisive insights on everything, given his vast experience. We have been very fortunate to have his guidance at Bureaucrats India, and we are so grateful, sir, for agreeing to be with us. A passionate professional, Dr. Sarangi also did his PhD in organization development from the IIT Delhi. We shall soon be joined by Mr. Binod Kumar Singh, an IRS officer and formerly additional commissioner in the Government of India. We also have Mr. Deba R Mohanty, from Vice President at the Society for the Study of Peace and Conflict, bringing in a strategic perspective. He is one of India's leading experts on security and is quoted extensively across journals across the world. And given his insights and understanding of the way defense, aerospace industry is operating and the criticality of aluminum in it, and you know, so thank you, Sarangi sir. Thank you, Deba R Mohanty. Mr. Binod Singh will join us soon. And the icing on the cake is today's moderator, Mr. Surya Sarathi Ray, a dear friend, a very, very respected journalist, and somebody who is, I call as a Wikipedia on things like aluminum and metals. Formerly with the Financial Express, but Surya goes beyond uh, headlines and datelines. He's an institution in himself. He's very kindly agreed to moderate this session, bring in his perspective, his insights, his understanding of the criticality of aluminum as we progress towards the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat by 2047. Over to you, Surya, and thank you all panelists. Thank you those who are joining us on this session live on Zoom, and also those who are watching us on our Facebook page live. Over to you, Surya Sarathi Ray.
Thank you, Dr. Navneet Anand, for all the good words about me. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the webinar of Advancing Aluminium for Atmanirbhar Bharat, Key Imperatives. It's an honor to moderate this insightful discussion organized by Bureaucrats India, featuring a distinguished panel of experts from diverse fields. As you know, as we march towards India's vision of becoming a developed nation by 2047, aluminium emerges as a strategic metal. Its applications in defense, aerospace, renewable energy, electric vehicles, and sustainable infrastructure make it indispensable to our journey towards self-reliance. So the panel has already been introduced by Dr. Anand. Still, I just wanted to, those who have just joined.
Shri Binod Singh has already joined. We welcome you, sir. I know you're traveling. Incidentally, so many of us, Mr. Mohanty is at the airport. I'm in Guwahati. Mr. Singh is traveling, so he very kindly agreed to join in from the car that he's traveling in. So, yes, Surya.
Yeah, so our esteemed panel, that includes Dr. Jayadev Sarangi, former IS officer and former secretary in the Govt of Delhi and Goa, Mr. Binod K Singh, former IS officer and additional commissioner, Dr. Deba R Mohanty, he is from the Society for the Study of Peace and Conflict. He'll bring a strategic perspective on this aluminum thing, and of course, Dr. Anand, Editor-in-Chief of Bureaucrats India. Bureaucrats India is a voice of authenticity and authority in policy and governance journalism. Thank you for organizing this webinar, Dr. Anand. So today's conversation will delve into the key aspects of the Indian aluminum industry, its untapped potential, economic contributions, and challenges. The challenges includes rising imports, taxation burdens, and policy hurdles. We'll also explore actionable recommendations to align the industry with the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, setting the context, I'd summarize some key facts. India's aluminum consumption is just 3 kg per capita compared to the global average of 12 kg, that is 1/4. Signifies also at the same time that there is an enormous growth potential. Currently, the sector with a production capacity of 4.1 million tons per annum, it supports 8 lakh jobs and has already seen investment of rupees 1.5 lakh crore. It has paved the way for the setting up of more than 4,000 MSMEs in downstream sectors, and those are obviously located in remote areas. With domestic demand projected to reach to 9 to 10 million tons per annum by FY30, investments worth rupees 3 lakh crore are required. This investment will also create an additional 20 lakh livelihood opportunities. Aluminium is very essential for India's renewable energy sector. As you all know that the government has set a target of 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel capacity by 2030. So aluminum plays a pivotal role in manufacturing of solar panels, wind turbines, and EVs. The metal is lightweight and corrosion resistant properties that it has. It makes it indispensable for green infrastructure projects like smart cities and clean transportation. Aluminum is a model material. They call it a model material for the circular economy due to its 100% recyclability without any quality loss. 75% of all aluminum ever produced are still in use. Recycling aluminum saves 95% of the energy compared to primary production, making it a key enabler of India's sustainable goals. However, the sad part is, despite sufficient domestic capacity and reserves of bauxite, the key raw material required for production of aluminum, around 56% of India's demand in FY25 is projected to be made through imports. Most of these imports coming from China are of low quality materials. So this is a brief about this sector in a nutshell. If I now come to Dr. Sarangi, said, what role can aluminum play, you think, in shaping India's future economy? How can India become a global leader in aluminum production, sir? Dr.
Thank
Sarangi.
you. As we all know, we are aiming to be one of the developed nations by 2047. Now, we cannot think of being a developed nation without the augmentation of our utilization as well as production of aluminum in the country. As you have already told, non-renewable sources of energy, defense, aerospace, these are the sectors where if you don't put your resources into this, then your import substitution, your dependence on your technical manpower that are available in the country, that will not happen. We have sufficient manpower who have been supporting all kind of industries all over the world. At the same time, we are depending on our defense requirement from quite a few European countries, America, and some other countries. So that's a very unfortunate thing. So when you know that you got manpower resources and you got everything possible to augment your capacity in production and be self-reliant, Atmanirbhar in terms of defense requirement, then you got to provide the inputs for that first. And why should we be depending on the low quality aluminum coming from China? We've been dumping it for a while now at the cost of our own industry. What's happening now is like our unemployment is there in our country, but at the same time, when you see China is employing its manpower to the optimum level, and they are trying to produce the resources and send it to countries like us. But while beating them in population, why should we be lagging behind in this? This is where we are suffering. Now, you don't talk about only capital intensive industries. We can start, like if you go by the Chinese model, they depend on the capital intensive industries, MSMEs, and the cottage kind of industries while augmenting their production capacity. We got to integrate the same way. Secondly, if I talk about countries like South Korea, what have they done? Their independence and our independence was almost at the same time. But when we went to study their model, it was surprising to see that they are not utilizing their mineral resources, and they have been importing from other countries which are in need of resources, and they are processing it, and we get back the finished products. So in case, luckily, India has got sufficient bauxite resources, which is essential for aluminum production. But at the same time, we also have the resources to get raw material in terms of minerals from outside India and start doing it so that we preserve our natural resources for future also. When you talk about our non-renewable energy resources, it is entirely dependent on availability of aluminum at best quality aluminum at a cheaper price. Because you talk about wind energy, you talk about solar energy, the infrastructure cost would be so much cheaper in case we have our own resources. And it is a capital intensive industry, labor intensive industry. So what will happen is with our manpower, we can utilize, as you rightly put it, if we by 2030 would be reaching around 20 lakhs people being employed in the aluminum sector itself. That's a big milestone. So looking at all this, it is imperative also now that we should be imposing higher import cost while getting the materials from outside the country, and particularly countries like China should definitely be prevented from dumping it in our country, and the low quality stuff should not be brought into our country. At the same time, when we talk about subsidy and other things for different other sectors, if at all small industry sectors and medium industry sector are not able to cope up with the competition, the government should also devise some kind of mechanism to support them. Not only reduce the taxation, but positive reinforcement is something very essential. Because one factor is you reduce the burden. Second factor is to give a push factor. The push factor is essential. That's what countries like China have been doing for a while now. So overall, if you look at it, because Mr. Mohanty is to leave now, I'll be talking in a greater detail later. But my take on this would be, government should give all kind of support, including incentivizing the production, utilization of the minerals, curbing the imports by encouraging the import duty, and reduction of the taxation for the local producers. All that will contribute to our infrastructure growth, our EV manufacturing. It will be non-renewable resources, energy resources, defense production, and all these sectors where infrastructure is important. As has been very clearly also spelled out, like this is one material, one mineral, like bauxite, and then consequently aluminium. When you recycle it, it does not go into the waste bin at all, because it comes back to you with the 100% quality.
Right.
So in this situation, I mean, there is nothing better than augmenting our manufacturing capacity in the country. And if 12 kg per capita is the world requirement, I think with our kind of population, 12 kg per capita is a very large quantity. So we got to be prepared for it. Thank you.
Right. We come back to you, sir, again. Mr. Mohanty, I know you have to catch a flight, and you have traversed the world. You have tracked economies of the world. You look at security and the aerospace and the defense industry with great attention and detail. Now, what is your view, Mr. Mohanty, that what strategic steps should India be taking to not only meet domestic demands, but also establish itself as a global aluminium hub, especially given the rise of India in recent past under Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi? Mr. Mohanty.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. I'm really thankful to you for giving me this opportunity to spell out a few points that has been spell out a few points to do justice to a very, very important subject. When we say that aluminium, we treat it as a strategic metal. Strategic because it's first and foremost, it's a dual-use metal. Its applicability in civil sector as well as military sector is pretty well known. As far as the military application of aluminium is concerned, that's a very interesting side. If you look at, if you link it to the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is self-reliance. Self-reliance in defense production has been in currency right from India's independence. And specifically since 2017 and 18, when the Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized on self-reliance in defense production, he meant that the abilities to design, develop, and mass produce military goods and services for not only for national needs, but also for exports. If you look at, if you go through the newspapers and all that, government has been taking very wonderful, stiff target about exports, military goods and services. If you look at aluminium in the defense sector, it has got very interesting dimensions. First of all, India has a reasonable amount of bauxite ores, which can be extracted, which can be put to use. India also has got a sizable amount of other strategic minerals, including thorium and all that. Recently, if you look at, there is a lithium mines have been placed in J&K. If you look at the whole universe of the metals, strategic metals, which are engaged in military production. Of course, the highest one is the aluminium and specialized steel. If you look at the array of weapon systems that India has, and
Mr. Mohanty, sorry to interrupt. If you can move your earphone a little closer to your mouth, please. No, yes.
This is okay. Am I audible now?
Much better, yes.
Yeah. So when you look at the application of aluminium, we are specifically, there is nothing called different types of aluminiums, which are almost all of them are military grade, depending on which type you are using. Mostly they are used in fighter aircrafts, basically in military aircrafts and aerospace systems like helicopters and transport systems. It's also very, very extensively used by the Indian Army. For example, like aluminium bridges, military bridges, which are deployed all across, mostly in high altitude areas. So there is a huge amount of demand for specialized aluminium alloys. If you look at the missile systems, it has also got applications. The aluminium application in missile systems, in rocket system, practically most of the systems. Now, if you extrapolate, if you enlarge it to a little more further, if you look at how the electric vehicle industry is growing, the military vehicles will be very, very in not too distant a future will also be practically have to be replaced with electric vehicles. So there also you will have additional demands for aluminiums in the military sector. Then we also need very specialized, highly specialized aluminium in the space system, mostly in the satellites and satellite-related components. So if you overall the demand, although it's at the moment it's around hovers between 10 to 12% of the total demand of total national demand, the civilian sector consumes close to about 85 to 87%. It may sound minuscule in terms of percentage terms, but it's actually, if you look at the military aerospace system, the demand for different types of aircrafts, not only the military aircraft, but also the civil aircrafts. So it includes the civil aviation sector as well, when we are talking about aerospace. So the demand for these aluminium alloys, specifically for military aircraft system or aerospace system, is going to be at least 7 to 8 times in a span of 5 years. So you can look at the kind of demands that we have. On the other hand, bulk of the critical aluminium alloy related components or raw material even are being imported, as Dr. Sarangi pointed out, and also the moderator, Dr. Surya ji pointed out.
Not Dr.
Import dependent.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Just Surya. I'm pursuing PhD.
Okay, no problem. See, I mean, import dependency is a huge problem for us, as exemplified earlier by Dr. Sarangi and Dr. Suryaji. We are going to need not only in terms of bauxites or aluminium, we also need technologies to refine them for extrusion, for aluminium extrusion products, which will be very, very essential in the military sector. If you just look at the demand for different types of fighter aircrafts, you see, I mean, I'm giving just a small example. We have only 32 squadrons, fighter squadrons, and we actually need 46. So another addition of 12 to 13 squadrons. Each squadron has 18 aircrafts. You can imagine the demand, the aluminium demand that is going to be absorbed by the military industrial complex. If you look at the military industrial complex side, the R&D related to alloys are being basically developed by a defense PSU called Nisra Dhatu Nigam Limited, MDNL, which has been very which is now a listed company in the market, and it's doing very well. If you talk to all these MDNL personnel, they will say how important it is, not only how important it is, but how deficient are they in terms of sourcing high-grade aluminum for producing different types of alloys. Then you have Defense Metallurgical Research Laboratory, which is under DRDO. Now that is engaged in different types of R&D to produce very, very high-grade and high technology intensive aluminum alloys for different applications in different platforms, in different weapons platforms. If you speak to the scientists there, you will also find the same thing. What I'm trying
you
to
can
come
again,
to,
Mr. Mohanty, we may be losing you again. If you can,
can you
Thank
hear me now?
Yes.
So
please.
if you just condense what I'm trying to say is there is the availability of the ore is not a problem. The problem is the processing, extraction, extrusion, and R&D. So I'm talking specifically about the defense sector. Now, if those things are taken care of by tweaking the policies, by tweaking the dynamics of military industrial complex, because a lot of private sectors are also coming up to produce as frontline suppliers for components and specific high-end components for the aircraft industry, for the aerospace industry, to Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, because that's the prime contractor for military aerospace systems. But also, if you look at the technology side, there are emerging technologies which we don't have. Like, for example, the concept of synthetic extrusion is gaining momentum. So all in all, if you look at specifically the role of aluminum, it is needless to say that it is really, really extremely important component of defense manufacturing, specifically in aerospace sector, but also in the land-based sector, like India, the systems required by the Indian Army. As far as Navy is concerned, Navy also has aerospace dimensions as well as land-based dimensions in terms of weapons, small arms to different types of weapons, including missile systems. So you can see the level of demand, which is actually going up. If you look at the export targets, and if you look at the percentage of domestic production by our defense industry, it is really becoming very, very important. So in that context, aluminum is going to play a very, very important role. I am reminded both Mr. Surya ji and Dr. Jayadev mentioned about the import dependency. This is where one point is I would like to flag, very interesting point. One is very, very concerned about imports from the Chinese. Well, it's a known fact that they are the largest producers. They are the largest deposit holders also, in addition to Guinea.
You please bring the mouthpiece closer to your mouth. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, this is hanging. It's going here and there. But if you look at from the import dependency side, I am not an expert on how to reduce imports, but it is really necessary to reduce imports in the defense sector at least, because of obvious strategic reasons. Because you can't be dependent on the material, on the components which you will use, which will be used by the armed forces, which will be susceptible to different kind of security lapses. So what is the alternate way? The alternate way is because there are countries like United States, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, who are also exporting aluminum to India. So those kind of countries need to be tapped for strategic deployment of aluminum into the defense forces, which should use the materials, the alloys or the materials coming from this kind of countries, where you can establish certain mandated rules and regulations to check and balance the security dimensions while producing, while deploying this critical resource for defense applications. Apart from that, my last point would be that when we are talking about self-reliance, we should actually, because we have the wherewithal in terms of availability of resources, availability of bauxite ore, and other strategic minerals, I don't see any point as to why in the next few years' time we should be dependent on special aluminum alloys to be applicable in the defense sector. The catch is we have to put our act together, we have to pull up our socks, and we need to be in a very, very dedicated manner, devote our own resources into producing our own system. That will be the catch line. It will be a major component of our way, of our strive toward becoming a developed country by 2047. Thank you.
Now, as Dr. Sarangi, Mr. Mohanty has pointed out, I would say enormous potential of the aluminium in India. We need a hell lot of aluminium. I mean, it goes up like anything. I mean, it is going to go up multifold because of this applications in various sectors, sunlight sectors, I would say, and as well as is the traditional industries. So, but the unfortunate part is, as I have pointed out, as Dr. Sarangi has pointed out earlier also, that India has seen a surge in aluminum imports, including low quality scrap, which doubled in recent years. It's a very low quality. And despite some sufficient domestic capacity, around, as I have mentioned it earlier, 56% of India's demand in FY25 is projected to be made through imports. India is being flooded with low quality, high carbon footprint aluminium. This not only threatens our domestic production, but it also deters fresh investments. And subpar materials creeping into Indian sectors like energy transmissions are leading to higher maintenance costs, inefficiencies, and energy losses, which currently hover around 20%. And this is significantly high of the global benchmark. Taking this from Mr. Singh, sir, if you can, please address us that how we can address these import challenges. What policy measures would you recommend to protect and encourage domestic production, sir? Mr. Singh.
Yes. Namaskar, friends.
Namaskar,
that is very vital that taxation angle is strategic to the growth of aluminum industry in the domestic sector. If taxation is favorable, then domestic industry is protected and it is encouraged to grow faster. So for the supplement, that is import of aluminum products, there should be more duty on that. And if Chinese goods are low quality, India can think of anti-dumping duty on that also. Because I think aluminum products are being dumped into India. So that is the points, and having a proper policy for import duty will be vital for aluminum production in India. And potentially the duty is 7.5% that has been further increased, but there should be more increase in the duty so that domestic production is encouraged. We should be more involved in having our own use of minerals and more emphasis on the quality products. The improvement in quality is vital. I think some of the industries in India are having very good quality of aluminum. So that will be important. And the another thing is investment in the aluminum field. If more investment is there is a pumping of resources. then we can have we can meet the target, because our per capita consumption of aluminium is one of the lowest in the world. That can be increased, and increase in aluminium consumption means increase in the development, because aluminium is related not only to the defense, it has a strategic development for the industrial supplement, in the building materials, in the household materials, and very many panels in industrial fabrication and other things. So the pumping of resources, the proper import-export policy, proper duty taxability on aluminium will be a vital thing for development of aluminium sector and making India self-dependent in this field.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's very nice. Dr. Sarangi, if I come to you, sir, I mean, globally, if you look at it, it's not just for aluminium, but for almost all materials, all metals. I mean, there is a tendency of protecting the home turf by raising imports. Like, US has imposed a 10% tariff on aluminum imports, while China has imposed 25% duty on aluminum scrap imports from USA. So, and don't you think that India would also should embrace some protectionist measures? Like, we have an import duty that is 7.5% for primary and downstream aluminium. Don't you think that, that should, be enhanced, as well as, the scrap duties on scrap? Don't you think that, these, the duties that we have around 7.5%, don't you think these duties should be increased so that, you give a level playing field to the domestic industries, and as well as you protect the domestic industry and domestic users, Indian users, from low-grade imports, low-grade materials at the end of the day?
Few things are to be taken into consideration, Suryaji. First of all, there is no doubt that the policy of the Chinese people or the American people to enhance the import duty or the scrap duty, that was not without any thinking. That was a very rational approach, because if you want to support your own domestic production and domestic industry, then you got to discourage import of such kind of stuffs. So from 7.5% to 10% would be an ideal enhancement. And on scrap also, I think we should be putting a duty of around 7.5% or even more, because if you look at the Chinese and American example, they have been a little harsh on while taking their policy decision in discouraging imports from other countries. So we should also not be hesitating in protecting our own domestic industries. Secondly, we are also projecting that we should be becoming a 5 trillion economy in near future. And we are also saying that we have 3 kg per capita consumption of aluminium today, and by 2030 we want to reach up, or in a later date we want to make it at par with the world level, that is 12 kg per capita. If you want to do it, then your investment also has to multiply accordingly. If we are investing now 1.5 lakh crore, then say, by doubling the investment, you could think of doubling your employment generation capacity. But at the same time, if you want to compete with the world and you want to produce the high quality materials, then R&D is a component. Marketing is a component. Those are to be taken into consideration. Without proper R&D and all, high quality production is not, it's not upscaling. Just like, like doubling the capacity does not mean that you only increase the manpower of the machine and double the capacity. If you want to make it high quality and better production with less investment, then more investment support is also required. So in place of thinking of 3 lakhs crore in near future and thinking of 20 lakhs manpower for employment, I would be thinking of multiplying at least by 4 times the investment. If you enhance the investment, accordingly also you will enhance the capacity for absorbing manpower into it. That will be supporting our country in the unemployed sector. At the same time, if you want to become 5 trillion economy, if you are not energy self-sufficient, if you are not self-sufficient in the defense sector, if you are not self-sufficient in your automobile production sector or automobile servicing sector, like electric vehicles. If you are thinking about electric vehicles, then also aluminium is going to support you in a big way. So aviation sector, if you are enhancing, because you are reaching out to the nooks and corner of the country now through different kind of airlines and different kind of low-cost approaches. But if you would be depending on importing from other countries, then in near future, I think we'll not be in a position to sustain it. So if you want to sustain our economy, then you got to strengthen your base itself. Like as somebody rightly tells us, while in the school, somebody used to always tell us, some visionaries like Tata's and all, they thought of having iron ore utilization and making a steel plant to make India infrastructure ready post-independence. So such kind of vision is required. Today it is time that if you want to progress and if you want to be less dependent on other countries for your own sustainable development, sustainable infrastructure, then you got to be sustaining yourself by producing more and more. And it's not a question of 3 kg per capita consumption of aluminium today and reaching out to the world per capita of 12 kg per capita. That's no achievement, because ours is a country, if you multiply by 4 times, and now you are not able to sustain your industry, and you are importing around 56% aluminium from other countries. And we got to think about, I mean, these are imposing import duty or imposing duty on the scrap. These are two important things. Yes, from 7.5% to 10%, or the scrap duty should be around 7.5%. But I would be proposing that we should be investment ready. We should be prepared for larger investment in the sector. And we should be officially declaring aluminium as a strategic sector, strategic material.
Yeah.
Many developed countries have already done it. So what is stopping us from doing it? Now that we realize that without our sustainable production of aluminium, we are not going to reach the target that we are planning to meet. So investment is one. Secondly, supporting our local production and encouraging with tax rebate to those who are doing well would be panacea for all this. And definitely, if you want to compete with the best quality aluminium of coming from outside the country, you cannot be doing with the traditional technology alone. But we do not have any constraint of resources, because the best of manpower is available in our country, and we are feeding the world for that. And if you are doing that in other countries, I mean, most of the CEOs of technical giants are from the Indian origin. So, I mean, that will definitely not be a constraint for us. So, given a choice, if Atmanirbhar Bharat is our goal, and if we plan in advance, I think in near future itself, we should be self-sufficient in aluminium. And I think we should be also in a position to earn foreign resources through aluminium production. That's my take.
Oh, that's a very nice.
Surya, I just had to intervene. Sir has abundance of modesty, and if he claims himself to be a generalist, if a generalist is talking such a tone, you would give a run for money to the specialist. It's been truly insightful, and every time I meet sir, last time we met, he was speaking on agriculture, sustainable agriculture, and that is why this service, the Indian Administrative Service that sir represents, brings so much of depth and insight. Sir, God bless India with more generalists like you. Who are watching this special edition of Bureaucrats India webinar on advancing aluminium for Atmanirbhar Bharat. And we have a very, very distinguished set of panelists. Jayadev Sarangi, former IAS officer, Binod K Singh, former IRS officer, and an expert on aluminium, and Mr. Surya Sarathi Ray, an institution in himself. Surya, in fact, there are some questions, and I wanted to solicit your views and your expertise in this before you go and toss your next question to BK Singh, sir. How can
Yes,
India
yes.
This is Tanu Soni asking this question, and how can India promote the uses of high quality materials and avoid becoming a dumping ground for poor quality aluminum scrap? I know some of these deliberations have already been done, but if you are to quickly summarize some thoughts around this, Surya.
Yeah, some of the excellent deliberations have been given on this issue. The way quality production in India, that will make the aluminium cheaper, and that will help the people to use more and more aluminium. Aluminium is environment friendly also. It is reusable and sustainable in many ways, better than iron and steel and all that thing. So quality aluminium can replace the use of many other materials, and the quantum jump in production of aluminium with big investment and emphasis, India can meet the challenge. That is the answer.
Okay, so Surya.
Yeah, one part is the question was that how can India promote the uses of high quality materials and avoid becoming a dumping ground for poor quality aluminium scrap. So straight away, if I come to the second part of it, we have to protect the interest of the domestic companies, and we have to ensure that our consumers don't use first less inferior grade products. And the only solution is there. I mean, you have to stop the entry of low grade materials and scrap into India. That is one part. That is the first second part of your question. And to promote, today consumer is willing to pay a premium for good product. So that is happening everywhere. If you see, I mean, in any part of the world, even if developing nation, developed nation, poor nation, wherever, the consumer is ready to pay a premium for good products. And today, our good product means it's a quality product, and it has to be sustainable product. So we'll use less quantity for better application, better returns. So R&D, spending on R&D is one part we have to promote, and there is BIS standard. BIS standard we have to follow. Every product has to be has to have BIS standard, so that we ensure that the good quality products, the good quality of products goes to the consumers and they use it. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. So, am I audible there?
Yes, you are
Yes,
audible.
Yeah. So there is a question that why hasn't India designated aluminum as a strategic material sector as yet, despite advanced economies like the US, Russia, Malaysia, and China doing so? So Dr. Sarangi has already mentioned mentioned about it. He has answered. He has talked about it, and he has said that following other countries, other advanced countries, other developed countries, India should also put aluminum in the strategic material sector, and hopefully India will do. India is going in that direction. So there is another question that I have one question for you. As the bauxite, the main raw material for aluminium, my question is: multiple sources claims global primary aluminum production reached more than 72 million tons in 24. So I just want to know, does bauxite production in India increase too? Yes, bauxite production has also increased in proportion, but in India, we are not mining the potential that we have. So there we have to lay more emphasis. We have to open more mines and get more bauxite from the ground. Yeah, as you know,
Surya, Mr. Dr. Sarangi also has some firm views on bauxite.
on the bauxite. Sir, please carry on, sir. Yeah.
Actually, Suryaji, I think you correctly put it. We got to open more mining activities in bauxite, but at this, because our deposits are quite large, luckily. But at the same time, as I was telling about the South Korean model, like or many other countries, they have done it. If you have the resources, why don't you start with resources that are available elsewhere also? If we can get it from other sources also, then importing bauxite ore from outside could also be a good approach to think about, because rather than getting aluminium scrap from China or other countries, if at all we got to supplement our bauxite resources without opening more mines, then we can also think about getting bauxite ore from other countries.
Sir, are you also suggesting that Indian companies, particularly the PSUs, should acquire bauxite mines overseas?
Yeah, there should be a policy taken on that, because once you decide that the requirement of bauxite, requirement of aluminium is there, and we got to be Atmanirbhar or self-sufficient in that in your future, in that case, you got to also ensure the supply of bauxite, high quality bauxite ore. So in that situation, the government has to think about formulating some kind of policy where the public sector or even the private sector could be the players in this entire exercise, so that you don't have dearth of bauxite ore while utilizing that for the production, because 56% of the import that you are having now for aluminium, if you want to replace with more production, then you got to have diversified approach. It can't be one quick fix solution. So one, we have to get more and more production of the bauxite ore through opening of mines. At the same time, one should also contemplate about getting more from outside, not as the finished product, but you get at the ore that could be thought of. And once you get the aluminium, and if you can do value addition to this, like automobile parts and aerospace parts, components, and other things, those value-added products on aluminium, if you send it outside, then I think you would be earning so much more in foreign exchange. So it got to be a holistic approach, and it's not a one-point solution to it that you only encourage production. You got to ensure quality. You got to ensure value addition. You got to encourage import substitution.
Yes. There is an interesting question from one Mr. Somendra. Yes, he's asking, won't raising the Dr. Sarangi,
Please repeat the question.
The question is, won't raising duties, that is import duties, increase cost, won't raising duties increase costs for downstream industries and ultimately for consumers? How do you propose balancing the interests of producers and consumers? Hello? Mr. Singh, you are on mute. Dr. Sarangi, if you can answer first, and then Mr. Singh.
Actually, while one component that has been already suggested is, like, first of all, taxation should be reduced. There should be reduced taxation. One, we are importing 56% of our need now. So while importing those things, import duty should be enhanced. That's what has been suggested in domestic production, and reducing taxes on it we would be in a position to balance it out. And at the same time, we would be promoting our growth of production from within itself. Because in one hand, you are suggesting reduction of taxation in the domestic sector, and you are enhancing while importing from outside. So if you increase your production domestic through domestic sources, I think then the burden on the consumer would be reduced to a large extent, because it will be supplementing your import in that case. It may not be a one-day solution. It may not be the impacting in a month's time or a year's time, but over a period of time, if the approach is that you encourage production within the country and you discourage import, then obviously the consumer will be the gainer.
Mr. Singh, you are on mute. Can you hear us? Mr. Singh, you are on mute.
Sir, phone mute हो गया है.
Some problem with the network.
Okay.
जी जी.
So
Now I have come to the network zone.
Sir.
Okay.
So my emphasis was that in the name of protecting environment, we cannot stop India to become a formidable power. And aluminium is related to the strength of the nation. If we have more aluminium production, if we have quality aluminium production, we will have less dependence on foreign ores. So my policy is that as sir has explained, that we should have maximum resource use production of aluminium from our resources and minimum use of imported material.
Okay.
So that will be the way, and there is a need to give the emphasis on more investment, more encouragement, more policy incentive, and increasing duty will certainly harm domestic industry, but that is temporary. Duty increase will encourage the use of domestic minerals, and that use of domestic minerals will ultimately lead to the self-dependence, and that is the way. We should be self-dependent, and our 56% dependence on the import should be decreased to the minimum of 20 or 25%. That is my view.
And just want to share one point here, that taxes, levies, and compliance cost account for 17% of the. That's why, Dr. Sarangi was right that we need to rationalize. Mr. Singh was right that we need to rationalize, this taxes, compliance, and burdens to enhance our global competitiveness also. So that is one part. There is also one question from Mr. Ayande. He is a researcher. He's asking that I want to know how should India, I want to know, should India start exploring low quality O2 from virgin mines? If you can answer, anybody of you, Dr. Sarangi, Mr. Singh, if you can answer. He is asking, he is a researcher.
No, I personally differ. I personally prefer report of quality will be the solution. India should firstly become clear on the quality of its own.
Sorry, you might have.
Yeah, I think I would be inclined.
I think we can request Dr. Sarangi to please respond.
Yes, sir. Please carry on, sir.
I think I would be inclined to agree with Mr. Singh that going in for low quality ore is never a solution, because if you go in for a quick fix solution, you do that only in case of emergency. We are not here to think about meeting an emergency situation. We are thinking about a sustainable growth pattern. We are thinking of going in a slow and steady manner to become a $5 trillion economy. So it's not an emergency situation that you somehow manage to get some ore and then go ahead with it. So my take on this would be, whatever we do, we should be trying to do the best as of now. so that we should be in a competitive environment where other developed countries, if they are able to do it, we are no less. So low quality ores is a total no-no.
Okay. So I would say, Dr. Anand, we have had a great discussion, and so I just want to summarize our discussion, if that is okay, or if you want to share any point, Dr. Sarangi, Mr. Singh, or Dr. Anand, anybody, if you want to share.
It's been just above an hour and doesn't feel like, though we are talking a very heavy subject, but doesn't feel like, and some of our friends are messaging me privately saying that it's been truly insightful. And that is what Bureaucrats India strives for, to be at the forefront of critical discussions and have perspectives and insights of experts like Dr. Jayadev Sarangi, Mr. Binod Kumar Singh on the front, so that the public sphere is enriched with their insights and experience. Please kindly summarize, and then we are good to go.
I will just summarize, Dr. Sarangi, Mr. Singh. Today's discussion, we have highlighted the immense potential demand of aluminium in driving India's economic growth, its critical role in futuristic industries, and the urgent need for policy interventions to strengthen the domestic aluminum sector. As we envision a self-reliant India, it is clear that aluminium industry must take center stage in our development agenda. This requires collaboration across government, industry, and academia. And with this, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Anand for allowing me to moderate this session, and my esteemed panelists for their valuable insights, and to Bureaucrats India, of course, for organizing this thought-provoking session. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor. Special thanks to Dr. Jayadev Sarangi, Dr. Mr. Binod Kumar Singh, and of course, Deba R Mohanty. At Bureaucrats India, we are always striving to bring the best stories to the forefront of public discourse. Today was yet another session, and we shall continue to come back to you with more insightful debates and discussions with experts from all quarters of life, and constant guidance of Dr. Jayadev Sarangi. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, and Jai Hind and Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Navneet. Thank you, Surya ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was listening to you was more
my pleasure
knowledge
too.
enhancing. Seriously.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. And all the best, Bureaucrats India.
Thank you, sir.
Keep doing good work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.